Hello and welcome back to Pro Life Without Borders with Sarah and Mikayla.
We're
Welcome,
back. I need
welcome.
to shimmy forward. Sorry.
So I was actually, I did a quick listen to our podcast from last week, and
Yeah.
I did not, and I should have. I wonder if the cow in Connecticut was ever captured.
Oh yeah, we don't have an update on that.
We don't.
So
And it's really, it is the hard-hitting news of today.
Yeah, we do have an update though, because I feel like it's going to be an issue. So we're just going to address it now. We've changed the camera angle.
We have. One of our faithful podcast listeners noted that my face is often half out of the frame.
You're still kind of the framing is still not perfect, but it just, this is as good as it's getting today.
Yeah.
I'm having a long day. You're having a long day.
And this is it.
So all of that to say, the camera is situated higher than usual.
Mm-hmm.
So if you see us looking down, we're not. We're just used to looking somewhere else.
So we have to train ourselves to look at the camera and just look at
not at eye level anymore it used to be.
Which is probably good because I've noticed I'm 37 and my neck is starting to do the old lady thing.
Oh, I'm not 37, so I just don't have a neck. We're you know how the people who selfie
yes.
come up here, that's essentially what we're doing.
Okay, so this is terrible and I shouldn't talk about this on the podcast, but I will. So Emily, the same person who told us that I was out of the frame, also my sister, we asked her husband to take a photo of me and my mom and my two sisters for Christmas Eve because we were all Christmas Eve together and it was a great opportunity. For whatever reason, he chose to be on the floor.
No.
And we're all
immediate divorce.
Divorce. 80. I'm not even heavy. And
Robert.
What? I had 87 chins.
No. I had a friend do that. I've had a friend you give them the phone to be please take our picture, and they start crouching. Immediate no.
Yeah, you need to do a Peter Pan thing. I want you in the air. I want the slimming effect.
Yeah, no. Robert, what in the world?
Yeah, he's an electrician. We probably shouldn't have asked. I always ask women to take the picture.
Yeah, 100%. Usually I ask younger women because I have been burned by asking an older lady to take the picture, and it's not their fault.
No.
But a finger's in the way and you're oh.
So can I tell you what I do every time someone asks me to take their picture? Because I'm friendly, I'm always making eye contact. People are oh, can you take our family's photo? I always take a selfie.
Great.
So I do a selfie and then I take their photo. So later when they're looking through their vacation photos, there I am.
There you are.
Just
that's great. Okay. Now I know not to have you take
No,
pictures.
I totally will. And you'll have, honestly, if you ever leave your phone unattended around me, you'll probably end up with a Sarah selfie.
Yeah.
And you can treasure it forever.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so
welcome back.
Yes, welcome back. So we are trying to be peppy, but the reality is we have kind of a heavy topic today. And it's super tough to talk about, I think, for a lot of reasons. But one of the biggest reasons is that we saw it coming. And now it's here. And even though we personally and as an organization have done our best, it's still here. And I think that's the hardest thing.
Yeah, it's not, obviously what we're about to talk about is hard because it's home.
Mm-hmm.
But it's even more difficult because we've been sounding the alarm for years now.
Yes. It's home. Yeah.
It's home.
So it's happening at home, and it's tough because we knew that it was going to happen and we saw it coming because we've been doing it in Africa and Asia and overseas and wherever. And so now the same thing is happening at home. So what are we talking about?
There was a case out of East Donegal. So before we even get into it, how do you say it?
East Donegal.
Donegal. Okay. Because I always say Donegal, but also, well, here's the thing. That's an Irish name. And I went to Ireland and that's how they say it in Ireland.
Well, they're wrong. We're not in Ireland. We also have, what else? So what else do we have in Pennsylvania that's pronounced super weird? There's a lot of things.
And we have Dubois, which technically should be Dubois.
It's definitely not.
But it's definitely not.
We live near Versailles, Ohio.
Yeah.
That is 100% not Versailles.
Yes. So East Donegal.
Yep. In Lancaster County.
Which is not Lancaster.
It's not.
Lancaster.
It's Lancaster.
There was a teenager. So we're talking about a literal child here. Who had an abortion. Her mom ordered abortion pills online after this teenager was denied an abortion at a clinic because she was already too far along to have a medication abortion.
Now, was it she was too far along to have a medication abortion, or she was too far along to have any kind of abortion?
Well, that is where things get a little bit iffy. There are some details about the case that were not released.
Right, and she's a teenager.
So yes,
yeah.
and so I think that's why a lot of this is so at the
other
very
thing too, so she's in Lancaster, and I meant to look this up before we started, and I did not. But I wanted to see how far a Lancaster clinic would do an abortion, because even though the legal limit in Pennsylvania is 24 weeks, not every clinic goes up to 24 weeks.
Right, yeah, like some clinics wouldn't. So all we really know, I guess, is she was too far along for whatever she was seeking at that particular clinic.
Mm-hmm.
Which Pennsylvania, abortion is legal up until 24 weeks.
Right.
And then to use abortion pills federally, it's 12 weeks up to 12 weeks, isn't it? Theoretically. Yeah, like the way it's supposed to be done is nothing more than 11 weeks.
Yeah.
So,
but it's not.
Which that's not what's happening, but like technically that is what is supposed to be in place. So at the very least, we know that this girl was likely more than 11 weeks. Actually, we know based off of the details of the story that it was more than 11 weeks.
I think she was more than 20.
I think this was someone who was too far along to have an abortion, period.
I would agree.
So we're talking about beyond 24 weeks.
We're talking about a viable human child.
Yes, because they also mentioned that this was a baby girl.
Mm-hmm.
And so we know that she had to have been a considerable amount along for them to be able to determine, based off of not a genetic test, but just an examination.
I think that would be 15 or 16.
Yes, I think the article said at least 16.
Okay. So far along.
So she's far along. Had an abortion at home using abortion pills after being denied seen at a clinic, and gosh, it's just really hard to talk about. Yeah. So she was talking with a friend. So like their messages that were, and I think the friend is who tipped the police off. And so she's talking with a friend about her abortion experience. She's talking about all of the bleeding that was happening, some very graphic descriptions about how much she was bleeding. And then she tells her friend that she's too afraid to touch it because a full baby came out and it's still moving.
Yes.
And so that is really what caught the attention of a lot of people.
Yes, that's why I think she was probably more than 20 weeks along.
Right.
Which is all, and it's really hard. It's just, this whole thing is hard. But I delivered twins at 24 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know I know that if this baby was that far along, there's a chance that she could have lived and thrived.
Yes. Now, the news articles have all stated that doctors have determined that this baby would not have lived outside of the womb.
Okay.
So
maybe
they're saying that it wasn't viable. We know, because we've talked about before, that viability is changing. Mm-hmm. And it gets less and less as far as weeks go. So it used to be like you weren't viable until you were basically fully cooked, right? But like as medicine progresses, now viability can be as early as 21 weeks. Mm-hmm. And quite frankly, it could probably even be a little bit earlier, but I think 21 is the youngest. Yeah. So they're saying it wasn't viable, but it also was far enough along that she, like, the gender could be told. So we're looking at probably 16 to 20-ish weeks. Okay. At the very least.
At any rate, a disaster.
It's a disaster. And so it's traumatizing that this girl did this at home. She's telling her friend about it. Eventually the baby passes away. She keeps, and I'm so sorry, but like we have to talk about it. She keeps this baby under her bed for weeks.
Yep. Because she's bonded.
Yes.
Like I can't even imagine how traumatic this. So her mom buys her abortion pills.
We're going to talk about this girl's mom in a second.
And so she goes through this awful experience and puts this baby under her bed until she finally buries the baby outside.
Yes. And so she buries the baby in the backyard. And it is at some point after that the police are tipped off to what has happened. And they go and do an investigation, recover the body. It's yet to be determined whether they'll press charges on this girl. Like the legalities of it haven't played out yet, because this is literally this week in Pennsylvania. Right. So last week for those who are looking at the podcast.
Yeah. And the thing is, when we first started doing this international ministry and we started seeing these kinds of things happen in countries where abortion is illegal, we thought, wrongly that these type of things would only happen in states where abortion is outlawed. And obviously, based on this, it's not true, because not only is abortion totally legal in Pennsylvania up to 24 weeks, but we border New York, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland.
Yes.
And while we don't agree with abortion at any stage for any reason, I am baffled as to why this family, this mother, thought that buying abortion pills over the internet was a good choice for her daughter.
Probably because the people who sell abortion pills over the internet say it's just like getting your period.
That's true.
And don't, like, false advertising is probably why they thought that. But yeah, it's sad because this isn't, and when I very rarely do I make personal posts on like my social media about work things. But I did about this one just because it's home. And this is not an abortion access issue.
No, it's not.
Because that's what people say, right? Is like, this wouldn't have happened if she had been able to get an abortion, blah, blah, blah. She could have. Up until 24 weeks, she can get an abortion in Pennsylvania. Now, after a certain point, it becomes a surgical abortion rather than a chemical abortion, right? So it wouldn't be abortion pills. She would actually have a procedure done in a clinic, but you can get abortion on demand up to 24 weeks.
Yep, for no reason.
For no reason. So this is not an abortion access issue. And like you said, we border New York, where you can get an abortion to term
Yeah.
for any reason. So this is not an access issue. This family, because it's a family ordeal, has abortion access and chose to do this anyway.
Right. And the whole thing is devastating. My heart breaks for the baby, first of
Obviously,
all, and what
yeah.
she went through.
Mm-hmm.
Because she obviously was alive after she was born.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was a certain amount of suffering, which is absolutely heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
My heart is also breaking for this teenage girl.
I mean, it's traumatizing. And you can see, even just from the story, how traumatized that she was. And it'll come out for years. I mean, it'll be years, I think, of dealing with this. But yeah.
Well, and I think too, when I look at like putting the baby under the bed, burying the baby in the backyard, those are the actions of a child. Like, that's how a child responds to a lost pet. Or like, that shows to me that that's a picture of someone who has very few resources, because she's a teenager.
Yeah.
And she's grieving and she's traumatized. And maybe, I mean, we don't know what her desires were.
No.
Like, did she want to have an abortion? Did she want to keep her baby? You know, there's a friend of mine runs a pregnancy center in Lancaster. They absolutely would have helped her in any way they possibly could. You know, what's the story here? And why did this family feel like it was okay to go online and order abortion pills for their teenage daughter and have her go through this probably late term abortion at home?
Yeah. So the article that you printed out doesn't have the details of the other ones.
The other one was like behind a paywall,
which is weird because I could see it.
Right.
You can't,
I couldn't.
And I definitely don't pay for like Lancaster online.
Yeah. So, I don't know how you got it.
Well, no, maybe it was like one of those free, like, you get one free article, and maybe you've used
maybe
free article.
Maybe I'm reading Lancaster News and I don't even know it.
But I mean, like, the scene's horrifying. So this one says just she was turned away by an abortion clinic because her pregnancy was too far along, which leads to believe that it was over 24 weeks. Yeah. But then other news sources, well, and that's the thing, is how this is being reported is bizarre depending on what you're reading.
Right. And this is a more conservative news outlet.
Yes, and this conservative news outlet here even says media reports described, quote, it as a baby, fetus, child. One news report used all three terms in their story. Like, people don't know what to think.
Right. And the thing is, and this should not be a shock. And so this is what we have been dealing with on the chat line since 2019.
Yeah, I was going to say is that you and I are sad we're not shocked.
Right. And I wish I was shocked.
I wish I was shocked.
I would
too,
love to
but
have some shock.
We're not. I saw it and I sent it to you, and all I said is it's here.
Yeah, it's here. Yeah. It's in our backyard.
It's in our backyard. I mean, Lancaster's on the other side of the state, but
it's basically our
backyard.
So and I looked up a couple things. One of the this is so hard to talk about. One of the most frequent responses I get when I talk about the home abortion is this assumption that if you try to have an abortion and you're past 11 or 12 weeks, that it will not work. And I would like to dispel that myth right now. So yes. The abortion pill is a misnomer.
Right. So yeah, I was like, we need to talk about what actually she took.
Right. So we don't know exactly what she took, but chances
We
are
might not
good.
know exactly
She
what
might
she
not know
took.
what she took. Chances are good she took at least misoprostol.
Yeah.
So mifepristone is the one that's often in the news. It's the one you take it and then you're supposed to wait 24 hours and take misoprostol. Mifepristone essentially kills the baby.
Yeah, it deprives it of
the baby of
progesterone.
nutrients.
Yeah.
It's the one that you could potentially reverse if you catch it soon enough, or if you
Yes.
decide to reverse it soon enough.
Right.
A lot of at-home abortion kits aren't using mifepristone. It's harder to get and it's more expensive.
Yeah.
What they are using is misoprostol.
Mm-hmm.
So misoprostol is an older drug. It was actually initially used to reduce the risk of stomach ulcers.
Yeah.
For people who are taking like regular NSAIDs. So like
Yes.
maybe you're taking aspirin every day and you don't want to get a stomach ulcer, so they prescribe this.
Mm-hmm.
Misoprostol is also used very successfully to induce labor.
Yeah, I was going to say, so the brand name of this is Cytotec.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've ever given birth in a hospital and if you've been induced, chances are you've probably used Cytotec,
Right.
or
I
your
used
nurse.
Cytotec with my first.
Yeah, I was like, so it's very common, and it's used to induce labor in hospitals, obviously under doctor supervision.
Right.
Like if you're 44 weeks pregnant,
nobody
like,
gets to 44 weeks.
I know. Yeah,
Okay.
they do. Yeah, they do.
Okay, but you
yeah,
really
they
shouldn't.
do. You really shouldn't, which
You
is
really
which is where the side attack comes in.
So with my first, who is now 15,
Yeah,
and more or less normal.
Yeah,
he does his best.
Yeah, he's a 15-year-old boy.
I
What can you
constantly
do?
say that he's 14 and he gets so mad, and I'm like, buddy, I just can't handle that you're growing up. He's gonna get his driver's license this year.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know how terrifying that is?
Yeah, as someone who drives on these roads.
So I was 37 weeks, and for a bunch of reasons, they were like, we're gonna induce this baby, we're getting him out. And so they use Cytotec. So I found this to be very interesting. According to a TikTok account that seemed pretty legitimate, you used, I know.
Yikes. Okay.
You use like 25 to 50 micrograms to induce labor in a full-term mother.
Okay.
25
so we're
to
talking
50
that's
micrograms.
a relative. Yeah, 25 to 50. All right.
If you are suffering from what's called a missed miscarriage, which is not an abortion,
Right.
So you've lost your baby, the heartbeat is gone, the baby is gone, and your body's not delivering.
Yeah.
Or an abortion, you're going to use 800 to 1200 micrograms.
Yes.
So we're talking about many, 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 many times. So one of the big arguments I hear is, oh, well, it just won't work if they're further along. No, if you can induce a full-term labor and delivery with 25 to 50 micrograms, you can certainly induce full-term labor and delivery with 800 to 1200 micrograms. Plus, all the websites that talk about the home abortion say just buy 2 boxes if you're not sure how much you're going to need.
Right. And so that's the thing too, is that some of these providers, and this, we run into this overseas, the thought is the further along you are, the more you take.
Right.
And so we've had clients on the chat line who have taken upwards of 15 pills.
Yep.
And if we're assuming, which again, you're like, one, you have to assume it's even miso in the first place. And you're assuming, and that's not expired. They come in, I think, 200 milligram pills.
Yes.
Like I think
each tablet is 200 milligrams. So you're usually taking.
So you're talking 3,000.
Yep.
Milligrams.
Micrograms.
I'm not a pharmacist.
No, I can tell. Neither am I. That's why I wrote it
down.
Yeah,
MGs, whatever the MG stands for. 3,000. And we're inducing full-term labor in the States with 25.
Right. So if you're 11, 12, 15, 16, 18, 20, 25, 30, 36, whatever weeks long, and you take enough misoprostol, you're going to go into labor.
Yes.
The abortion comes into place when the baby dies, right? I mean, that's essentially the goal of an abortion.
Right.
But as we saw in this case with this teen in Lancaster,
the
baby was still alive when she was born. And that happens, and I'm just going to say it, all the time.
It does. It happens all of the time on the chat line. I think it happens very often here in the States, and we're just now hearing about it.
Right.
But it's unfortunately, it's a very common occurrence on the chat line. I would say probably weekly we talk to someone who has had an abortion and at the very least said the baby was moving for a little bit before it passed away.
And and we don't know how far along this teenager is, and it may never be public knowledge just because she's a teenager, which I respect that. Like, that's fine. But if the baby was more than 24 weeks, or 24 or more weeks, or frankly 22 or 23, if this teen had been taken to a hospital, the baby could still be alive.
Potentially,
There's
yeah.
a little, and little girls do better than little boys when they're born
Yeah, they
prematurely.
do.
But there was a little girl who was born just a few weeks after my twins, and I ran into her mom months later, and she was doing great. She was 15 ounces.
Yeah.
She was like tiny.
I went to school with a girl who at the time was, I think, like the national record holder for being like one of the smallest babies ever born. And they called her the soda can baby. I don't know. But yeah. Okay. I went to school with her.
You went to school with a soda? That's amazing.
Yeah. Like ounces.
Yeah.
Tiny.
Yeah,
and she was fine. We were in school together. She was fine.
Right. And that's the thing. Like if this, so let's just say all these horrible things are happening. Teenager's pregnant. They try to take her to get an abortion. The abortion clinic says we can't do that here, whether it's beyond their limit or beyond the legal limit.
Right.
So mom decides, let's go buy pills online. If they had taken this young woman to the hospital, it could have ended very differently.
Yeah. I was going to say there's a lot of things that we don't know about this story. So part of it would be her parents' involvement, or at the very least her mother's involvement. Red flags, first of all. But I think it's a red flag if your mom is willing to buy you abortion pills.
At all.
That's just a red flag. Parenting choice all the way around.
Parents should be, if your child comes to you and says that they are pregnant, or their girlfriend is pregnant, or their friend is pregnant, they should be hearing a message of, we are here for you. We love you. We're going to take care of you. We're going to take care of this baby. We're going to find a great option.
We're going to figure it out.
Yes. Not, hey, let's go get an abortion.
Let's go get an illegal abortion.
Yeah. And maybe buy some abortion. And then where was the mom when all this was going on? Why is she texting her friend?
That's what I was wondering, is why was this woman's mother not, like this girl's mother, with her when she's texting? And maybe she was, we don't know.
But like, also, if your mom is right there,
why did your mom let you keep your baby under your bed? Like, which tells me that the mom might not have known what happened. But like, we don't know. There's so much we don't know. So we don't know if the teen was by herself when she had this abortion. Was she not honest with her mother about the realities of it? Was she scared? Like, why?
Right.
Like, this whole thing is just very baffling. And then to have it under your bed for weeks, and then to bury it in the backyard is just bizarre. It's sad.
Heartbreaking.
It's sad.
It's heartbreaking. So Jill Hartman is actually quoted in this article, and she's a friend of mine, and she runs a woman's concern in Lancaster. Super great pregnancy center. I would 110% refer anyone in Lancaster to her. She said, women deserve better. Women's health is put at risk, as well as the lives of unborn babies, when purchasing abortion pills online. And she has told me privately, personally, that they're getting more and more post-abortion phone calls from women who took pills.
Yeah.
Like, it is becoming an epidemic.
Yeah.
And frankly, our government, our laws, nobody is doing anything about it. It should be illegal. It should be illegal to even advertise these things, and they are everywhere.
Yeah. And other countries have made it illegal to advertise, and we just haven't caught on. In the United States. And not only have we not caught on, but we've actually made them even more accessible. So one of the things that I mentioned when I made my post was that in 2023, they permanently modified the REMS for mifepristone, which means, so the REMS are like certain things that need to be in place for someone to be prescribed something, right? So there's kind of like restrictions in place on certain medications. And mifepristone had one up until 2020 where you had to be in person for it to be dispensed. So you could not get it online. You had to go to essentially an abortion clinic to get it. So you had to go to Planned Parenthood, and you took your mifepristone while at Planned Parenthood.
Right. And then you went home
with your misoprostol. So that's how it was up until 2020. The COVID pandemic came. They loosened the REMS for mifepristone so that it could be dispensed online because of the pandemic. The pandemic ends, people still want their mifepristone online. They permanently modify it. So it was like a temporary thing. And in 2023, they just permanently decided that you could get abortion pills online.
And if you go on and it just baffles. I'm using the word baffle a lot, but I am baffled.
Baffled is a good word.
I'm very baffled in just many ways. If you don't believe us, like pause this podcast, pull out your phone and Google abortion pills online and see how quickly and how cheaply you can get abortion pills shipped to your house.
We had a podcast episode with a video at the end of me buying abortion pills.
So, not really buying them.
Well, yeah, like pretending to buy them. I got all the way up to checkout and then did not purchase the abortion pills. But yeah, so we have and I'll put in the description which episode you can go. And at the very end, like I literally screen recorded myself. It was, I think, under 3 minutes.
Yep. If you are very bad at technology, you can still get them in under 10.
Yeah, it's not that hard. And when if you've literally ever made a purchase ever online, you can buy abortion pills.
Yes, and these are teenagers we're talking about. They do everything online. These are young adults. These are young women, and they're being told that these are safe, that abortion is empowering, that it's just managing your miscarriage at home, that it's just getting your period, whatever. And then, like this poor young mother, they're being hit in the face with reality.
Yeah.
When they deliver a living child alone at home. And then what do you do? And in this case, she didn't call an ambulance. She didn't call for help, as far as we know. She was texting a friend, and then she put the baby in a box.
Yeah. And I feel like it's important, like I'm about to read direct quotes of what this girl texted her friend. It just came out now, and it's like a full baby, and it's still moving. It has fingernails and lips and a nose. And so we know fingernails being developed is this is a far along.
Yeah.
I'm scared to touch it because it moves sometimes.
So how long was this baby alive after she delivered?
Yeah.
We don't know.
These are things we don't know and probably won't find out.
Yeah.
But it's important that people hear this because this did not have to be this way. And like we said, there were a lot of things that have happened for us to get here. Mom's involvement, lack of medical care being called whenever things weren't going the way that they thought they would, baby being kept in a box. Like there's a lot going on, and the only reason that this all came to light was because someone anonymously tipped off the police.
Or maybe, and how often does this happen? We don't know.
Right.
But I can guarantee it's happening everywhere.
Right. And this is just a case of someone actually reporting it.
Right. And the police actually following up.
And the police actually following up, which, you know what? Good on the East Donegal police.
Right.
Or Lancaster.
And I'm sure there's situations where nobody ever tells anyone. And I'm sure there's situations where it's reported and the police can't get anyone to tell them what's going on. And I'm sure there's situations where it's reported and nobody's sure what to do.
Yeah.
And the reality is that every pregnancy center in America at this point has talked to someone who's had a really nasty home abortion experience. Like it's becoming extremely ubiquitous. And it is, we can, and I do sometimes, we can get mad at the moms. Like, why would you do this? Why would you take these pills? But like Mikayla said, the advertising is so intense.
Yeah.
And they're being told it's normal, it's healthy, it's safe. And these are not fly by night organizations telling them this. This is like the World Health Organization and Doctors Without Borders and Maurice Stopes and Planned Parenthood and all of these big organizations that frankly have quite a bit of brand recognition. And they're saying it's totally safe, it's totally fine. And they're giving them how-to videos on how to induce their own abortions.
And women are being told falsely that if you go in, like, you will be prosecuted. We don't know, as it currently stands, of any woman who has been prosecuted for having an abortion in Pennsylvania.
Right.
That could very well change with this case. But again, this was not a legal, like this is a mess. This is just a mess. And so there are a lot of things about this case that we don't know how it'll shake up. But we don't know of any woman who has been prosecuted.
No.
So scaring women off like that, and not a very good thing to do. Also, women are being told not to be honest if they do seek emergency medical care, not to be honest. So they're being told, you don't have to tell a doctor anything. You don't have to tell them what you took. You don't have to answer their questions. And so these abortion pill companies are really, they're pushing pills on people, and they're giving them terrible advice about what to do if something does go wrong. And you and I both know that this is not like a shocking, rare occurrence.
No, it's not.
This is not like, oh man, like this is so bizarre that it happened. This never happens, and it's super rare, complicated. It's not.
It's not.
It's not.
And most of our experience is with women overseas. But there's plenty of times where I've talked to women who think that they're 18, 19, 20 weeks along, and they're like, I'm going to do this home abortion. And I'm like, hey, this is a really bad idea. Here's all the reasons, blah, blah, blah. And then when we follow up in 3 months, they've got like a 3-month-old baby.
Yeah.
And so when people are like, you need to trust women, you need to believe women, there's no way to know exactly how far along you are without an ultrasound and without an exam. There's just isn't. Like,
No,
you can
and we're
talk
not
about
like
your
we're
last...
not accusing women of lying. Some of them do lie intentionally to get their hands on abortion pills. But like, we're not accusing everyone of lying. Sometimes you just don't know.
Right.
Like, bodies are weird, periods are irregular. You miss things.
And you don't know.
And you don't know. So you might have a positive pregnancy test. In fact, I just went through this with someone today.
I'm so glad you added with someone today, because I was like, what? You went through this?
No, with a client
With
just
a
like half an
client.
hour ago.
Okay.
With the client today who is pregnant, has a positive pregnancy test, was freaking out about what to do. And I'm like, okay, like how far along are you? Well, I just took the test. She's probably 30 plus weeks.
Yeah.
And for a variety, and has had regular periods. Which is why she so client's shocked. I really ruined this
You're
woman's
like, I
day.
am also shocked. We're all shocked
There
together.
was a lot going on about that whole situation. And I ruined this woman's day by being like, I am so sorry. You are not just a couple of days pregnant. You are a couple of months pregnant.
Yes.
And she had no idea.
Those situations are not limited to other countries.
No, and I was like, these are smart women. This is a woman who tracked her period, and she just had no idea, because pregnancy is weird sometimes too, and you get regular periods when you're pregnant, like, it happens. So we're not accusing people of lying. It's just, you've got to go to the doctor and have an ultrasound and get that checked out.
And these websites are now saying that even taking a pregnancy test is optional.
Right.
Which is even crazier to me. So now you have women who are potentially taking abortion pills who may not even be pregnant.
Right.
And so how do we even deal with that kind of abortion regret?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sad because I might have had an abortion. I don't know if I did. Maybe my period wasn't late, or it was only a few days late, or I don't remember if it was late, but I took these pills and then I got what seems like a period. And so this is just, it's a disaster. It is an absolute disaster. This never should have happened. And everyone needs to be talking about it, because we have got to stop letting these organizations, Plan C, Planned Parenthood, Marie Stopes, Doctors Without Borders, World Health, whoever, continue to promote this home abortion as some kind of magical solution. And that's exactly what Repro Action calls it. Abortion pills are magic.
Yeah.
They actually say that.
Yeah.
That's a thing that they say.
You know what? Yes.
You know what?
You know what?
And I would like them to talk to this young woman and explain how magical this was.
I was about to say, I want them to look at this young teenager in the face who slept on a bed for weeks with her dead baby under it, and tell her that it was a magical experience.
Yeah. This is not Disneyland.
No, this is a literal story from hell.
Yes.
This is just worst case scenario for everyone involved.
And no matter what happens next, this girl she has a long road for mental health recovery.
I was going to say, regardless of what prosecution does or does not happen in this case, because I have no idea. I don't know that there's precedent for something like this in Pennsylvania on how this is going to go down. If this girl's going to face charges, what are those going to look like? What would she be charged with? I've got no idea, because we don't know all of the details of the story, including how far along was she. The improper disposal of human remains is probably there's that. But regardless of how you feel about prosecution and what you think should happen, this woman was a victim in
100%. Yeah, she's just
we're not saying that what she did was right. She was a child. This is a child.
Yep.
With a parent who knew she was pregnant
and knew that the local abortion clinic
had said no for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Had said no. And you and I both know that abortion clinics love money.
Oh, yeah.
So for them to turn someone away is telling of the situation. And so this girl is a victim, and
the baby is a victim.
And so there are two victims here. And it's important that we acknowledge that this girl, and I mean, even her mother was probably lied to about the reality of the situation as far as what would happen.
Less sympathy there.
I was like, I also have a lot less sympathy, but also
yeah.
like there's sympathy there because abortion pills are being marketed.
Right.
And
We have these huge giants who are branding them as this wonderful, amazing, magical, miraculous solution to every unplanned pregnancy.
yeah.
And I don't care who you are or what your political views are or who you voted for or whether or not you think abortion should be legal, you should be against this travesty.
Yeah.
Nobody, pro-choice, pro-life, pro-whatever, should be for home abortions because this is obscene.
And again, this is not an abortion access issue. We live in Pennsylvania. We border New York. She could have had an abortion at 24 weeks here. She could have popped across the border to New York and have gotten an abortion whenever she wanted. This is not an access issue.
And
and this
honestly,
is not like a look at the ideal abortion law standard. We've got them, and this still happened.
Right.
So,
And this
safe
is-
abortion.
The other
My
thing
butt.
is, okay, so we're talking about abortion access, which obviously neither Mikayla nor I agree with, right?
Right.
I'm literally like tearing my hair out.
I'm like
just
so upset.
So upset.
I gotta breathe.
Yeah.
Just water break.
Deep breaths. This young woman had options. So Mikayla and I work every day with women who have very few options.
Yeah.
Maybe they're living in a slum in Africa. There are girls who don't have food. Like we were talking to someone like a week ago and she said, I feel weak. And we're like, did you go to the doctor? And she said, yeah, they told me I should try to eat regularly, but it's really hard. Like that's what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
I don't know this young woman's economic situation, but I know that she lives in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
We have food. We have healthcare in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
There are pregnancy centers in her backyard.
Mm-hmm.
Adoption is an option. Like she had choices other than this.
Mm-hmm.
This was not her only option. This was not her only choice. And the people in her life, her mother, her friend, her whoever else was involved in this, because I'm sure that other people knew that she was pregnant,
Mm-hmm.
should have stepped up and been like, no, this is not what we're doing. We're going to go to a woman's concern. We're going to go to the local human services. We're going to get you what you need to have a healthy pregnancy.
Right. Which brings in, this news article has a quote from the pregnancy center in Lancaster, which just brings up the fact that, yes, this girl had other options. Did they know about them? Now, obviously, we're in the States, and so I think most citizens of the United States are aware of programs like SNAP and your human your human services options, maybe your HR options too. I don't know. Like, we've got those too. Tort training is on my mind. So yes, like they would have been aware of those, but were they aware that there was a pregnancy center down the road from them? And I don't know. But I do know that as someone who works at a pregnancy center and who is involved with the marketing, that it is expensive to market. And we are up against insane giants like Planned Parenthood, whose marketing budget every month is probably more than our entire operating budget for a year.
Oh, for sure.
Like easily. Maybe since ever.
And I've seen a lot of stuff online, very pro-life individuals. Well, why didn't the pregnancy center X or why didn't the pregnancy center Y? Like, listen, I can tell you, I am like close personal friends with Jill Hartman. She is the bomb diggity.
Sure.
Like she is running a really stand-up pregnancy center. They do phenomenal work. I know they're advertising.
But I mean, there's only so much you can do.
There's only so much you can do.
Like their advertising budget isn't in the millions every year, like Planned Parenthood's. Ours isn't. I seriously doubt it.
No.
So there's only so much that we can do with, like, we do the best that we can with the resources we have. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, this is a competition of resources, and Planned Parenthood will win every single time.
Right, because they have access to state and federal dollars.
Yeah.
And huge donors like Warren Buffett and other Bill Gates and people who are dumping millions and millions of dollars into this organization. Mm-hmm. So they're able to do the crazy advertising budget and they're able to do the lobbying and all of the stuff that keeps them doing what they're doing and keeps them in money. And I was just telling someone Sunday, I was like, it truly is a David and Goliath situation.
No, like it is.
And we are David.
Yeah.
Just in case anyone was wondering.
Like in case anyone was confused.
And it's not that we don't believe that God can do amazing things, because he can and he does every day. But the reality is we need people, the pro-life people of this nation, to step up and say, I'm going to support my pregnancy center, not in a casual way, in a sacrificial way, so that this doesn't happen.
Right. And so we continue to operate I feel like I say this like every single week, and every week I like hope it changes, and it doesn't. Like every week I just wake up and I'm like, here's the reality.
Here's the reality.
Your girl continues to operate the only pro-life website dedicated to the home abortion issue in the United States.
And that is at homeabortionfacts.com. And that website, frankly, and I'm just going to throw it out here on a podcast because why not? We had to cut our advertising budget.
Yes.
And not reduce.
Cut. It's gone, which is why your girl runs the website.
Because the money isn't there.
The money's not there. And we don't want to cut services. So we're not going to say like, sorry, we can't see less clients. So we have to cut advertising. And so that was the first thing to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just be frank, it sucks. Because
Can we say sucks?
Are we allowed to say?
It's our podcast.
Sorry. But that's like, it stinks to high heaven. There we go.
It is.
Like, where are my Christian curse words? It is less than ideal.
It is bad.
It is incredibly unfortunate.
And if you are King James only, it stinketh.
It stinks. Really sorry, but it just does for obviously like a lot of reasons. But namely, that website is so important, and it does get used. Other pregnancy centers utilize this website.
Jill Hartman uses it.
Jill Hartman uses our
Jill
website.
Hartman from Lancaster.
Thank you, Jill.
She's great. She actually bought some of our brochures last week.
That's good to know because I probably need to follow up on that. Just things to add to the list of things to do. But like this website is important, and we've put in a lot of work, and it's been years and years and years in the making. We continue to update it mostly weekly. Again, it's just me right now, and so
I help.
Yeah, you do. So mostly weekly, new content gets added.
Mm-hmm. Like
we're constantly trying to pay attention to it. It's a good website, but.
And I guarantee you, if you could call Planned Parenthood, Maury Stopes, World Health Organization, Doctors Without Borders, or Plan C, or I Need an A, or any of these other organizations, and you ask them how many people and how much money they're pouring into their websites, it is way more than 0 and a few hours of Sarah and Mikayla's time.
Yeah.
And I think that we do a very good job, but more has to be done. And this story is just, it's breaking my heart because we have to do more, and I can't by myself, and you can't by yourself.
No, like I don't have millions and quite frankly billions of dollars to give to advertising. I would if I did. I would 100% give it to you guys for advertising, but I don't.
I don't have tens of dollars.
It's like at this point,
eggs are expensive.
I know I have $2 on my desk, and
I tried to give you $10 for salad yesterday.
It's true,
and you turned me down, and then that was it.
Yeah, that was it. But my point is that we have quite the fight, and we are doing our very best. And so I will just personally take offense if people are like, well, the pregnancy center, blah, blah, blah. Like, stop. This isn't my fault, your fault, the pregnancy center's fault. Let's talk about the people who are selling these pills.
Yes. And the other thing we have to realize, and I was talking with a friend about this, a friend from Michigan about this yesterday, the skill level, the brain trust in the pregnancy movement, the pregnancy health movement, and the pro-life movement in general is there. Like there are people who have the skills to run national ad campaigns and to change culture. And one of the things we have to be really aware of with this home abortion is right now is the time to strike. Actually, 2-3 years ago is the time.
Right.
But as time wears on, people are going to become used to these stories, and they're going to find a way to explain it away. And so we need to now start working to educate the general populace and help them understand that home abortions are bad and harmful, and that they should not happen regardless of your political affiliation.
Yeah.
And so this kind of marketing and these kinds of messages, they need to happen now. And I don't know if anyone out there is going to listen to this and think, oh my goodness, I want to be part of that. But we've got to, like, as Christians, as believers, as pro-lifers, we have to make this happen.
Yeah. And so if you have skill sets, because that's another thing, right? Is people are like, well, I don't know, like, how can I help a pregnancy center? I don't know how to talk to women who want an abortion. Here's the deal. We don't need volunteers who know how to talk to women about abortion.
Right.
Like we have staff who are trained to do that. That is their job. That is their career.
And if you do want to volunteer to do that, we can
100%, 100%.
You don't have to come, but like knowing
that is not like what we need in a volunteer. We need people who are willing. That's it.
Yep.
Like we need willing people.
Also with a clean criminal background.
Yes, you need to have a clean criminal background. But if you have a skill set, I promise you that a pregnancy center can figure out how to utilize it.
Absolutely.
If your skill set is picking up sticks, we can use you.
Yes.
Because the Newcastle office has a ton of them.
Right.
Like we can figure it out. Especially, and this is just like a personal gain thing, if you have a skill set in search engine optimization, web design, website management, if you understand what on earth Elementor is, I don't know, but like if you know, we need you.
Yes.
And we have things for you to do.
And when we initially developed the website the first time, we had a really awesome team of volunteers.
Yeah,
from all over the country that gathered all of this research together. And this website would not exist if it weren't for people who were willing to volunteer and to give and to make it happen. And maybe you're thinking, well, I'm not Bill Gates. I'm not Warren Buffett. I don't have $1 billion to give you, or I would. Do you have 10 or 15 or $20 a month? Then give it. And when everyone comes together and everyone does that, it makes a difference.
It really does. Even like $25 funds one of our chats. Like $25, make sure that a woman overseas gets referred to a pro-life resource in her country.
Yep.
And these are women who are actively seeking abortions. These are women who have pills in their hands.
And I would guess we get 10 to 15 a day who are late term like this girl is.
Oh yeah. I've talked to 10 or 15 at least today alone.
Yeah.
But I've also talked to like over 80 women today alone.
We've had,
it's just a lot.
Now most of them are international.
Yes.
The cost of reaching an American woman is higher for a lot of reasons. But internationally, we've talked to 80 women the day that we recorded this, and it's only 10 after 4.
Yeah. And that 80
has 6 hours left to operate.
Yeah, I was about to say that 80 was at 3.
Okay.
So that was an hour ago we were at 80.
Who knows?
I don't know, because I've been in here filming this. And so I handed it over to the next volunteer and was like, thanks so much for being on. I've got to go. And so I don't know how she's doing. I hope she's okay.
I hope she's okay.
Thank you, Jess.
Shout out to Jess. Heart for Jess.
I hope she's okay.
So this is a tough story. It was hard for even us to talk about. So we're going to each, I'm going to share first because I have one and I know it takes you longer to like come up with one.
Hey.
No, well, because every time I ask you, just stare at me. Like, you're like, why did you just ask me that? You didn't plan. So I'm going to share a story of a client who could have ended up in this situation, but because she messaged us, she did not.
Okay.
All right. So
I've already got mine. So
all right. So
if we have the same story, I'm going to be upset.
You are, because I'm going first. All right. And I may have already shared this story on the chat because it's one of my absolute favorites, even though I probably should pick another one. That's okay. So this young woman messages, I'm on chat. I'm like typing away. That's my typey sound.
Okay.
And I'm like, based on your last period, you're like 21, 22, 23 weeks. You are way too far along to have an abortion by pills or at all in your country. And so like, these are all the risks and side effects. Here's a fetal development image. And she was like, and I'm paraphrasing. She was like, oh my goodness, I had no idea. That sounds terrible. I'm not going to have an abortion. Great. Good choice. So she's young. She hasn't talked to her parents. Sure. Boyfriend's gone.
Yeah. Dead
right.
Deep.
Yeah. Totally just ditched her. And so I'm like, I'm going to follow up with her to make sure that she doesn't change her mind or like reach out to a seller who tells her it is safe or whatever. So I'm like, I'm going to follow up with you in like a week or 10 days. And she's like, perfect. So 10 days later, I follow up. She had just delivered an 8-pound baby. She was not 20 to 24 weeks. Yeah. She was 39 weeks. When she messaged me, she has this bouncing baby, 8 pounds. Now imagine she's a teenager.
Yeah.
Imagine her taking pills at home alone and delivering a baby in the slums of Africa with no family, with no support, with no medical care, and being scared to death. It would have ended exactly like the story that we talked about today.
Yeah.
And that's one out of thousands of people that I've talked to, much less everyone else on chat.
Yeah. So actually just this morning, I got a follow-up. She wasn't like an actual follow-up with us, but she was a client that we had talked to several weeks ago, was reaching out. She was late term then, right? And so she's considering abortion, and we're like, listen, girly, no.
We don't say it exactly like that.
No, not exactly like that, but we were like, listen, like what you're wanting to do in your country is illegal. And I'm not even going to share what country she was in, but it was against the law. Like she was way too far along. And we explained to her the dangers. Like, here's what happens, because she was looking for pills, We're like, this is what that pill is going to do. And here are some possible scenarios. Like,
Right.
you're this far along, you could deliver a baby that's alive. It's going to be traumatizing to you. Depending on what happens to that baby, there could be legal things. This is just a mess. It was a mess of a situation. So we talk with her. We get her referred to a pregnancy center. She chooses life. Pregnancy center is able to provide material support.
Mhm.
So this woman gets clothes, diapers, things that she needs. And I found out this morning that she's given birth to a baby girl. And I'm waiting for pictures, but she had a C-section. And so she's like, oh, I'm sore. And I was like, that's okay. I can wait for your
But
baby
you're
pictures.
also like, I want to see.
But I'm also like, send the baby pictures now.
Be like, I don't care. No.
But yes, and so she's fine. I like checked in with her. She's just like, yeah, I'm just really sore. Like, I'll send them later. And I'm like, okay, fine.
Which is reasonable.
Which is reasonable.
So okay, so then all right,
but her story could have been very different.
Well, especially if she needed a C-section.
Exactly.
Because what happens if she's induced at home and whatever caused her to have a C-section happens at home?
Right.
And she can't.
Right.
She dies, or the baby dies, or she bleeds out, or whatever.
Yeah. So I was too excited about the baby to ask, like, hey, what happened that you needed a C-section?
You were just like,
I was just very happy. Like, she's healthy, she's good, and everything went fine. And she's got a baby girl. And so it could have been very, very different. She could have been this poor girl in Lancaster.
She could be dead.
Yeah. I was like, and this, quite frankly, this poor girl in Lancaster is lucky that she's alive.
That she's alive.
And you know, if this girl in Lancaster had the resources, or had contacted the pregnancy center, had something, like, she could have been my client in Africa who now has a bouncing baby girl.
Yeah. Oh.
And a sore C-section. Yeah.
So I don't know how far this episode is going to go. I hope it goes far. But if you want to invest in an organization that is making a tremendous difference, we know how to help women. We know how to minister to them. We know how to help them choose life. And we're doing it extremely effectively overseas, but we need more funding to do it here in the United States. So if you'd like to learn more, please email podcast@promiseoflifenetwork.org, go to promiseoflifenetwork.org, or just like listen to the rest of our podcast to hear more about our ministry. I'd love to talk with you about investing and getting involved. And the verse that like keeps coming back to me as we're talking about this is like, where your treasure is, there your heart is also. And like, where is our treasure? And this, as Americans, our treasure has been placed in the hands again and again and again of abortion providers, whether or not it's our choice. Right.
Right.
And so where are we going to put our treasure? Where are we going to put our money, our time, our prayer, our dedication, our influence, our skills? Where are we going to put it? We want to put it where it's going to save lives, and it's going to save girls, women, young women from this experience.
Yeah. I was going to say, now is the time. Pennsylvania, put your money where your mouth is. It's not enough to sit around and talk about how pro-life you are. It's just not at this point.
Yeah.
So reach out to us.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a place to donate, but also if you're a Pennsylvania resident, we can help you find your local pregnancy center. But Pennsylvania, like, now's the time. Now is the time, because it's here. And this is only the first story that we've heard of. It is not the first time that it's happened.
No, and it's not going to be the last. So yeah, we got to step up. We got to make a difference. We got to dig deep, and we got to make this happen.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Okay.